Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the AZ Axel channel. My name is Axel, or Alex, or AZ Axel. You can call me whatever you'd like, but welcome to the very first episode of the AZ Diamondbacks Intern General Manager series for OOTP 2018. Now, you may be saying, wait, Alex, why are you on the transaction page already? Well, that's because, unfortunately, if you watch my streams on Twitch, you know that I have a buggy computer right now. Two buggy computers, in fact. So unfortunately, one of my computers decided to shut down twice during my recordings of this series. So unfortunately, if you look at the date, it's not April 1st, it's May 1st. And we're already doing really well. So we're going to do a recatch-up stream really fast, or a recatch-up video in this case. So your Arizona Diamondbacks are officially being controlled by moi. So congratulations, we are now the general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and we came into control of this team, and we had a lot of questions. So let's run over the questions we had, kind of where the team was at when we got started, and where we are now. So the first thing we realized was that our scouting director wasn't actually here. So we actually had to go out and sign a brand new scouting director. We went out and got Norio Yamaguchi. That was a good signing for us. He's done very excellent for us this season so far. He has vindicated some of our trade options that we did, as you saw from the first screen. He's also kind of let us know who is good and who is bad in our organization. The second thing we looked at was what trade bait we had from the organization and what needed work. We looked around the organization, the entire team, and we saw a lot of kind of not glaring holes, but we saw issues that really needed to be fixed. We saw some things we didn't like. We saw some things that we felt like needed reinforcement. And one of those areas was the outfield for our actual Major League squad. The rookie system, the farm system, you just have to start doing that from drafts and Rule 5s and anything that you can find to begin to develop more international advancements and a bunch of other stuff. So to be honest, the drafts, player development, international budgets, those are all kind of set because of the fact that our salaries are a little expensive right now. It's mostly Greinke, as you probably should know by now. If you know anything about the D-backs, you know it's pretty much just Greinke. He's the one person that's going to be costing us $30+ million every single year for the next 5 years, potentially. And he's expensive. He is an expensive little bugger. And instead of tearing down the team and trading away a bunch of guys and trying to rebuild, we decided as a general manager and as an organization to go all in. So instead of making huge deals, we went ahead and made some smaller deals that we felt really exemplified some of the players that we could get with the people that we had. So we went ahead and made a couple transactions, and the first one was this one. We looked around and realized that we wanted to officially cement Marte and Chris Owings as our second base shortstop options. And we looked around our organization, and Chris Owings was, a very good he's a decent shortstop, but he's a really good second baseman. So we wanted to keep him there. And then we saw Marte, and we realized, Marte is really going to be potentially, our head scout doesn't like him as much as our OSA does, but he could be the face of the D-backs' shortstop position for the next 7 years if he wanted to. So we have given him full control over that position. We decided to go ahead and go all in on both of those two guys, and we haven't looked back. Technically, we have not looked back. So at this point, we were looking around at kind of the options that we were able to get for Nick Ahmed because he was the odd man out, and the Orioles approached us interested in him. Or no, sorry, technically we approached the Orioles, and they offered us a couple different people to complete that deal. So let me go ahead and go to this, and I'll explain the deal and how it went down. So it started off with Brad Brock. Brad Brock was the main piece we wanted from the Orioles. This is a relief pitcher, 31 years of age. He's a neutral pitcher in terms of ground ball and fly ball tendencies, so we liked that. He wasn't a fly ball pitcher. Our bullpen was kind of in disarray. We had a lot of people who could be good, but also could really have bad years, and we didn't like the way it was shaping up, and we liked this guy's stats from this past couple of years. He seemed reliable, he seemed good, and he really seemed to just kind of have everything we were looking for in a solid, not even just really a setup person, but just someone we could bring in to pitch a 6th or 7th inning, and he would just do it for us. So we went ahead and we really badly wanted him. Vidal Nuno was another person we looked at because of his long relief ability and his high control. We saw him. He's already been with the D-backs before. We thought that might be a good idea to bring him back, and we went ahead and added him on top of the listings just as a throw-in pretty much. We also added in Stefan Crichton. He is a young pitcher in Double-A currently. He's already pitching for us right now, and we saw in him a ground ball, right-handed pitching, control pitcher, and we like that. I like control pitchers, I really do, especially when it comes to the bullpen. If you can get control pitchers, they can last you a whole lot longer, and so far it's proven quite so well for us. So he's doing really well in Double-A for us right now. The last person was Jesus Lorenzo, and you can just see from his statistics why we liked this kid. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher, so I don't know if he'll be staying with us for the entirety of his career. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that he'll be even with us past AAA. But if we can develop him into the OSA ranking of 46 overall potential, if he can get close to that, and then we can add him in a deal, because extreme fly ball pitchers don't do well in Chase Field. They just don't. So right now we're trying to develop him and groom him into a person that we could probably get rid of and include in a better deal down the road. So there is a chance for us to be able to do that in later times. Now, who do we have to give up? Well, first of all, it was Nick Ahmed. Nick Ahmed was unfortunately one of the main people in this deal. He is liked by OSA. Our head scout actually doesn't like him that much, which is kind of weird. But, hey, that's the difference between OSA and our head manager, or our head scout, sorry. He's definitely a Gold Glove caliber player. He's going to be very good in that regards for a long time. Our head scout thinks he's not as good on stealing as he might be. I'm not sure about that. And our head scout thinks he's not as good at hitting, which unfortunately he has done pretty well so far this season. Again, I'm sorry, the recording died. Deal with it. Anywho, the other person included in the deal was Jeremy Hazelbaker. This might be the one person that I'm actually really sad I had to get rid of, but he was an intricate part into why the deal went down. And unfortunately, we didn't have a head scout when we made these deals, so this is the one person that I may regret getting rid of, but he is mostly just speed. A little bit of speed, athleticism, and a decent power bat. So he may be missed, but we had so many people in the outfield who were just power bats that he was in AAA he was on the outside in AAA looking in. It wasn't going to be worthwhile. Andrew Jersey is the other person that potentially could be interesting. He's got differentiating opinions depending upon the OSA ratings and the head scout. We didn't really feel like he fit any of our molds in our rookie system, so we included him in the deal to just solidify it. And that was our deal to Baltimore. The other thing that was really cool was that Baltimore was okay with taking on both Brad Brock's and Vidal Nuno's contracts for this year. So both of them cost us $0 to have for this 1 year. And, if they don't do well, maybe we can get rid of them. If they do well, then we can sign them on and keep their contracts. Depends on what we want to do. So not bad at this point. The second trade we made revolved around Yasmani Tomas. We had made our deal. We got bullpen support. We got rid of an outfielder and a shortstop. We were going to ahead and move forward in the future with that. And then we realized we needed money. We really needed to get rid of some salary. And you may look at this deal and think, I don't think you won this deal. Well, contraire, I think we did. Yan Gomes was someone that the Indians were ready to give to us basically for Tomas, which we looked at him and were like, okay, you're not a bad catcher, you're decent, and you've got some decent power and some decent pop, and I kind of like that. And then we looked around and we were like, wait a minute, how much is Tomas getting again? $6 million this year. Okay, $10 million the next year. Wait, $10 million? $15.5 million the next year. Wait, 15.5, and then $17 million. Way too much. So we were willing to ship him away for almost anything, to be honest. And then we were like, well, what if we could also get Dan Otero? Another extreme ground ball pitcher, extreme high control, good movement, and depends upon how you view him, but another good signing by us. And it only cost us Tom Wilhelmsen, who was currently in AAA for us. He's a decent pitcher. I'll give him that. He is very good, but he just wasn't ever going to be in our bullpen with the kind of people we really wanted to have in our bullpen. And then Raymond Fuentes was our last person that we gave away, and he's mostly just speed and a little bit of defense, so we didn't really feel bad about getting rid of him at all. And that basically saved us about $1.5 million, I believe, in salary costs. Yan Gomes does have a little bit of money given to him up until basically 2020, and then a team option to get out back in 2021 for $0. So technically, he could be only at $9 million at the most. We could also get rid of him sooner or later. He has won a Silver Slugger back in 2014 at catcher. That was back when he had 21 home runs and batted .278. So we're hoping he can kind of resurge back to that season and do pretty well. But that led us to some more questions. Okay, so you get Yan Gomes. That's a decent upgrade to catcher. But wait, don't you already have like 3 catchers in the organization right now? Don't you have like Herman, Mathis, and Iannetta, who are all decently good major league ready catchers? That's right, we do. So we then went ahead and turned around and finally addressed the outfield situation by actually just doing a 1-for-1 deal with the Yankees. Chris Iannetta, who, as you can see, doesn't even have the power that Yan Gomes is able to do and has the same catching ability pretty much, but isn't a leader and has high greed, pretty much was given away for free. We didn't like him being our hitting catcher. We thought that Yan Gomes might do a better job, and in return, we got Aaron Hicks out of the deal. And you might think that it's a bit of a downer trade. I'd have to agree. I think the Yankees kind of fleeced us a little bit, but at the same time, all I really wanted was somebody who had good outfield coverage, and Aaron Hicks supplied us with a perfect combination of some decent athleticism, good fielding, and a switch hitter, technically, and a cheap price. He doesn't cost us that much. He is still in arbitration. He has very good defense, so we've put him out into right field, and we're hoping that he'll do well out there for us. If he can hit .270 for the season, I'd be happy. I would be ecstatic. And having him just join the organization and be able to bat 2nd or 7th or 8th, I don't care where, it was a good move for us. So the last deal we did then was getting rid of a relief pitcher that we didn't really want to have anymore, and that was Jorge De La Rosa. Nuno was basically going to be replacing him as the long relief, younger long relief representative for the organization, and even though he's got some decent stuff, I just didn't see him fitting well in Arizona. So we went ahead and got rid of him, and the Reds were actually willing to give us a young pitcher by the name of Evan Mitchell, who OSA thought was really good. Our head scout thinks was a little bit worse, but as you can see, another person with extreme ground ball stuff. So again, I'm still preparing to have the organization turn away from fly ball pitchers to just ground ball pitchers, because that's always going to be the hardest part for the organization, is keeping the ball in the ballpark. So we went ahead and got him. He's become a decent prospect for us. So we got a couple of relief prospects out of the deal. We got a better bullpen that now supports Dan Otero and Brad Brock, which basically gives people like Chafin and Delgado and Bradley more days off and less stressful positions in the organization. So as you can see, even with some rough starts for Delgado and Bradley, our bullpen is amazing. It has done everything exceptionally well. So let's talk about the first month and just recap what has happened, because at this point, there's been a lot that's happened in just the first month. So we started off the month against the Giants, and we tied a series at home against them for 4 games, which was kind of a bit of a letdown. Kind of felt like as if we got off on the wrong foot. Fernando Rodney blew the first game in the 9th inning, I believe, and that was rough. We ended up going till the 11th. We should have won that game. It was 3-1 in the 9th inning, and we just let it go. So right after that game, I was all over Rodney's butt, let's just say. He threw 40 pitches in that game, and that would become a reoccurring theme for Fernando Rodney. He even had a wild pitch. It was awful. He did a terrible job. And Brad Brock did terrible as well, giving up a 2-run shot in the 11th inning to Brandon Belt that ended up winning the game for the Giants. We would have won it otherwise. So that was just rough. That was a very rough game for us. Greinke pitched out of his mind, but he did go long. He had 118 pitches, another thing that will end up recurring, and we'll talk about in a second as well. But, we technically won 2 out of 4, and they had Bumgarner, and, they've got a scrappy offense, so we felt like we were okay. We went into Cleveland, and we won the first 2 games at home against Cleveland, and then we ran into some problems. On the 9th, we had a suspension handed out. No, sorry, on the 8th, in the... No, 7th? No, it was the 10th. So what happened was that it gets really bad. The pitching staff just had a huge meltdown during this little section of time right here between the loss in Cleveland to the loss at LA. The first thing that happened was that Robbie Ray had an injury on his game where he pitched against the Giants. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, so he ended up straining something during this game. It doesn't say why because it didn't actually report it as an injury. It wasn't a real injury. He pulled something, and he went out with a strain, hence the 5 innings and 5 runs given up. It was a bad outing for him. So immediately after that, Greinke did well. So you're like, all right, so it's just a couple of bad losses. We were still looking at a very good record. We were, I think we were 6-4 at that point. We're like, all right, fine. Then... that wasn't Greinke's outing. 8-2 was Corbin's outing. But we had some situations go down where basically Taijuan Walker got into a fray during this period of time. So right after Ray went down with a strain and we couldn't use him for like 8 days. It was 6 days. Sorry. So he missed 1 start. And we were like, all right, well, we can miss 1 start. It's not a problem. Then Walker went down for an 8-game suspension. Oh, lordy. That was terrible. That was a really bad situation. So unfortunately, this week, this week of the 9th to the 15th was just terrible. It was really, really bad for us. Just one of the worst weeks I have experienced in a long time for OTP. We were struggling just to put a pitcher on the mound to the point where Shelby Miller, as I just saw here, Clayton Kershaw, we have to throw somebody against Clayton Kershaw. Nobody is ready to pitch against Clayton Kershaw. Miller is suspended. Walker is suspended. Ray is down with injury. It would have been Ray's turn or Walker's turn, and instead we had to throw Miller at 50% rest. It was like a 3-day rest for Miller at that point, and we just got blown up by the Dodgers. So we were like, okay, now we're suddenly looking at a bad situation. We're 6-6. Where do we go from here? Well, what happens is Walker comes back from his suspension, has a great game against the Dodgers, just dominates them, and then, Ray comes off of his injury and does really good against the Dodgers as well. And then we go ahead and have Corbin continue to dominate, and we're like, okay, that's 3 straight wins at LA. That's amazing. And then we're like, well, now we're going to move into San Diego. We should be able to sweep San Diego as well. And we do. Greinke comes in and has a really good game against the Padres. And Fernando Rodney gets his 6th save, lowers his ERA down to 2.35. And we're like, all right, it's clicking. Miller comes out and does a good 8-inning performance, even though we blow the game again. Again, Rodney, 34 pitches. Starting to see a trend here. I was too. But we come back to win the game anyways. We're scrappy. We come back. We have a good offensive performance. And then we blow out the Padres with a good complete game performance from Taijuan Walker, even giving up technically 3 runs and a homer, but 8 strikeouts. He looks really good in this game. And, Owings goes off and has 4 RBIs. We start to see some good increasements from Goldschmidt, who had been batting like 210 up to this point. So it was good to see Goldie start to get some good knocks in there. And then we were like, all right, let's go home and go against LA. And we did it again. We came home. We faced off against Alex Wood. Robbie Ray came in, had a good outing. The bullpen came down on top of him and just smothered the LA offense. And then, of course, Corbin comes out and just dazzles again in another performance. He's been amazing so far this season. And Brock and Chafin do a good job. And, you can still lose a game to someone like, Ryu. That was the one performance I didn't like about Greinke. He does occasionally get susceptible to the long ball. But But even this was technically a game we probably should have won, and Delgado blows it in the ninth inning in a tie game situation. So even in this one, we were doing quite well. We were literally winning up until the seventh inning, and then we were losing, tied it, and then just gave it away, even with the 2 errors going to LA. So we have been doing very, very well. We lost a game to San Diego, but then we won 3 straight, and then we took the Rockies series at home, and that was April. So we're sitting now at a position where we have done very, very well. Our bullpen is definitely our number one strength right now, so all of the trades have worked in our favor. AJ Pollock is on an 11-game hitting streak. Fernando Rodney has 9 saves. Patrick Corbin has 5 wins and has been looking phenomenal so far. He's definitely not the number 5 pitcher in our rotation. He's definitely the number 2 pitcher right now. Now, you may be thinking, wait, Alex, didn't you say something about there being a couple of, reoccurring themes? Yes, and you may see it right here. Greinke has been given a 105 pitch count limit because of the fact that when he goes over 105 pitches, traditionally he starts to show wear and tear, and that was because of his first game against San Francisco, the game we lost. He had issues in that game. He's had some other issues in other games where he goes too far. So we went ahead and decided to put a limit on him, so that way that way Lovullo doesn't just burn him. Because also, the last thing I want to do is lose someone like Greinke to an injury. So I'm hoping that if we kind of put a limit on him at 105, he shouldn't surpass that too often. But even if he does, he really should be out of the game anyways. Because unfortunately, Lovullo likes to keep his pitchers in full time. He likes to make them work to the bone, and I don't like that idea. I'd rather have my people get rest and get limited, so that way they're not burned out. And then the other thing we did was we went ahead and we set a 25 pitch count on Fernando Rodney. And that's a bit iffy. That's still subject to change, but at the same time, we just found out that every single time that Fernando Rodney, if you go back to his game logs, every time he gives up runs, 34 pitches, 40 pitches. Everything else, it's sub 25. His last one was 25 because he gave up 2 hits. But if he had given up more hits than those 2, would have gotten over 25, and he would have given up runs. So when he's dominant, he's good. We're talking teens kinds of pitches. Really good situations where he's coming in for just an inning of work. But it's when Lovullo decides that Fernando Rodney comes in and pitches 1.2 innings, 2.0 innings. Why would you send your closer in for 2 innings? We have a good bullpen. Use it. So we're trying to force Lovullo to use people like Nuno for longer relief situations and not force Rodney to throw as many innings as, the setups or the middle relief pitchers. Rodney should just be used for closing. He should have the same amount of saves as he has innings pitched. That is my personal opinion about a closer. He only comes in to close. That's all he does. So yeah, that's been our month of April pretty much. It's been a very good month. We've had some really good stuff happen to our organization. I still want to see some advancements from people like Lamb and Goldschmidt. They're batting .229 and .235 respectively. But, other people have stepped up to the plate. We have Chris Owings batting .295, leading the team with 6 home runs. Peralta's batting .308. AJ Pollock's batting .308. Aaron Hicks is batting .260, which is kind of close to what I expected. But he also has 2 triples and 2 doubles. So I've been very happy with him so far. Marte is batting .305, and that is the big one right there. Marte is doing amazing. He has been very good at the shortstop position. He has really stepped into that role and done a good job. And that has been a huge, huge advantage to our organization. Just being able to look at our lineup and think that every single person can get on base, every single person can drive in runs. And it shows with the RBIs. I mean, you talk about Chris Owings having our RBI leader right now because everyone else is getting on base. From Goldschmidt to Lamb to Peralta and, even Pollock and Hicks. And just being able to see him drive runs in has been very, very encouraging. You've got Pollock with 18 runs score, 18 RBIs, Goldschmidt 17, Peralta 16, even Marte getting in on the action with 15. Still waiting for Lamb and Goldschmidt to really get hot, and that would allow our other players to get cold. So people were still interested in seeing do better. Arcia. I want to see Arcia start to hit more home runs and kind of get more doubles. Chris Herman needs to get hot. I need to see him be able to take on a utility position. Otherwise, Descalso's only going to get playing time. Drury needs to get hot as well. He's batting 185. Now, again, these guys have only played, 27 at-bats, 12 at-bats for Gomes, but 30 at-bats for Herman is a little bit much for a guy hitting 133, especially for someone that I'd like to be able to throw at first base, at, outfield positions, and backing up the catching position. I'd like to see Gomes get more playing time at catcher if possible, but they need to be able to prove they can play those positions and be able to stay consistent. So there are still some things that I'm looking at changing. There's still some things that I want to make better, but for right now, this is what has happened for the Arizona Diamondbacks in April. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll have another video out very soon that will cover all of May. We'll talk about our plans for May, what we want to do at that point, and simulate May. Let you guys see the results.